everyone. Today we are going to be speaking about a topic that is very close to my heart, but yet it is a very painful process that I have to do every month. Of course, that's budget. We are talking about the do's and don'ts of budgets. Of course, we all know how to plan for a budget sheet and put in the expenses and put in the income, and all that just works out fine. But what we are talking about here is that what is it that you should consider when you are creating your budget and maintaining it over a period of time. So let's get rolling. But before that, make sure you subscribe to our channel, because this is where you will get all information about health, beauty, fashion and a lot of DIY tips and tricks. So before we go into the do's and don'ts, I wanted to tell you a little bit about my story on how I started working on the budget along with my husband. So there was a time a few years ago when me and my husband, we realized that we wanted to take some time off from this chaos and work on things that are more personal and get back to the basics of life. So we decided to kind of make a few changes, and then of course, because we would not be earning as much as we were earning when both of us were working, it would become a problem, and so we had to maintain a budget, and that's how we started rolling on this thing. We started off with simply maintaining our sheet. I used to get really crazy about going into details and trying to capture each and every thing that I would do, go into my credit card statements, go into my bank statements, and I used to be crazy about it. But over a period of time, of course, we learned, we realized what are the most important things, what is it we should look at, what we should not, and then we slowly started maintaining sheets which were much more manageable. Still took me about an hour every month, but I love it. I tried different methods, but as of today I still follow that format. I wanted to share my experience on how this whole thing went for us, and a couple of do's and don'ts that would probably either bog you down or make sure that you do not continue with your budget anymore. So let's start with the do's first, since I'm a very positive person. The first thing that you need to do is to set a goal for yourself. You cannot have a budget tracking mechanism in place if you do not know how much you want to spend on how much you want to save, how much you want to splurge. So make sure that you are setting some goals for yourself before you start working on the budget sheet. Second, you need to understand how much is it that you have to pay towards your loans, your mortgages, your EMIs, whatever you call it. Just make sure that you have that somewhere maintained so that you can factor it into your costs. The general rule of budget that has been popularized over the years, and a lot of experts talk about it, is the 50-30-20 rule. The 50% is something that you spend on your needs, 30% is on your wants, and 20% goes straight towards your savings. So in order to be able to follow this rule, you obviously need to know what are your wants, what are your needs, and what is it that you can put aside for savings. So just make sure that you have all of your lists together before you start working on the budget. Third, you need to track your expenses. There is no shortcut over there. I have been maintaining a budget for almost 7 years now, and I've tried several methods, doing the shortcut, doing only net worth, doing this, doing that, but it doesn't help. At the end of the day, you have to track your expenses. Tracking your expenses helps you to understand that actually what you are spending, is it going out from your 50%, your 30%, or are you cutting into your 20%, which is of course your needs, wants and savings. So make sure that you have a mechanism of tracking your expenses. Follow the method that you are comfortable with. So this brings me to the fourth point, which is the fact that you need to follow a method to track these expenses which you are most comfortable with, which means it can either be an Excel sheet, it can be a Google sheet, it can be an app, it can be paper and pen, for all that it matters, right? So just make sure that you use a method that you are comfortable with, because if you don't, then the chances are that you are going to stop tracking it very soon. Having said that, you don't need to put this together every single day that okay, at 1 o'clock I spend this much, at 5 o'clock I spend this much. No, don't bog yourself down with it. You have your bank statements, you have your credit card statements, and it is very much easier to do it through that process. One smart thing that you can do is probably keep your credit cards separate. Maybe your debit cards or credit cards separate. What it helps you in doing is that it helps you to track your expenses. So say for example, you do not want to go into the details of how much you spend on food, or you spend on restaurants, or you spend on shopping. You do not want to do that. So once you've segregated your needs and wants, then what you can do is you can actually allocate credit cards for each of these expenses. So when you do that, you are actually, only taking the totals at the end of the month from this credit card, and you are saying that, okay, this has gone completely towards my needs, this has completely gone towards my wants, and then of course the rest of it goes into saving. So majorly you would be dealing only with 2 credit cards. I'm not an advocate of having many credit cards, so this is how you can stay at the minimum level of managing it. So this will help you to put in your number at the end of the month, and you don't really need to track it down every day. You already have it segregated. Of course, unless you want to go into details of how much you spend on shopping, how much you spend on grocery, then you may choose to have 1 or 2 more credit cards to be able to get into that. But my suggestion would be that keep it at needs and wants. Do not segregate it further. Now, many a times when we start tracking budget, we start feeling extremely conscious of spending money, and we do not do things that we really want to do, and then that brings in a lot of frustration. So keep your emotions in check. Do not get so over involved into the budget that you forget to enjoy your life also. You know what your segregation is, and you make sure that you spend according to that, or you save according to that, but just make sure that you don't suffocate yourself in the process. Be patient. It is going to take some time for you to be able to follow a routine of managing and tracking the budget, of meeting it. There are times when you will cross it, there are times when you will be under it, but it's fine, it's all in the game. At the end of the day, you have to look at how much you have done over a period of time, rather than harping on doing it every month. The only reason that we maintain a monthly budget is that it helps you to track over a period of time how much you've saved, how much you've spent, etc. So if in some months it's above or below the mark, then it's okay, but make sure that over a period of time it is not constantly crossing the budget that you set for yourself. Okay, so let's move on to the don'ts now. Since you are going to be tracking your budget starting today, or maybe you started already in the past, you know what your goals are currently. But there is a chance that in the future those goals will become irrelevant. So make sure that you are keeping those goals in check, and you have to make changes to these goals as time goes on, because otherwise you are just sticking to a goal that was an older one, and it is actually no longer applicable to you, and it doesn't even work for you anymore. Then comes the point about judging yourself. As I said before, don't judge yourself if you are overspending in some month, or something goes wrong with the budget in a particular month but everything is okay in the next month. Yes, if over a period of time it affects your budget, then you really need to look at it, and you know that then your goals are not realistic, and this is where you need to realign them. But just don't keep yourself bogged down with this. While you are doing your budget, you will come across certain decisions that you took of purchases or savings, such as investing in stock market or crypto for that matter, and we all know what is happening to the stock market and the crypto right now, right? So don't get stuck on your past decisions. You took a decision, it was something that was valid at that time, and all you have to do is you have to think forward. What is it that you can do out of that decision, and you can make the best out of it. So if you are someone who has just recently decided, say in December 2021, that you wanted to invest in the stock market, and as soon as you put in your money, the whole market crashed, and it is still crashing, don't regard it as a mistake. I am someone who has invested money in December, and I don't really fret it, because I know that over a period of time the stock market does come up, and I know that I will get my money. In fact, I will get my money's worth. If you are someone whose strategy was to make a short-term gain, then of course it has not worked out for you, and now you need to change your strategy, and now you need to look for a long-term gain from it. So that's what we mean when we say that you need to change your goals as you move forward. The last but the most important point is, do not give up. You know that this is going to take some time to adjust. It will take a few months. It will not happen in the first month, not the second month, not the third month. It is going to take a lot more time for you to get used to this, but just keep doing it. as you get further into it, you will actually start feeling the satisfaction of being able to see where your money is every single month, and that is something that you will crave for if you stop doing it. So make sure that you make it happen for the first few months so that you can get used to this entire cycle of maintaining it over a period of time, and then you will definitely be maintaining it for a long time. I started 7 years ago and I have not stopped. I don't think I'm ever going to stop. As I mentioned, we took some shortcuts in between, but it was so dissatisfying that I made sure that I got back to my process, which was helping me understand my detailed expenses. So that's that from my end. I have tried to do this video with a lot of personal experience because I really did go through this process, and I can understand how frustrating it can be for anyone who's beginning on this journey. Also, if you have a system that you are using to track your budget and you feel that is the most perfect system or it is good enough, please share that with us and we'll share it with the community of women here, and of course you will end up helping them all. Do write to me personally. My name is Sophia, and you can message me in the comments if you have any questions on my journey. And of course, you can subscribe to us so that you can see many more such informative videos on Girls Buzz.